want to pursue a career as a paralegal in America? According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median salary for a paralegal in America is $59,200 per year. With a growth rate of 14.1%, there were 354,300 new jobs in 2022. Join the Paralegal Bootcamp program under the direct supervision of top American attorneys and pursue your dream career as a paralegal. Not only will we educate you on the American legal system, but we will also help you find your dream job. For course fees and other information, please visit our website at www.paralegalbootcamp.us.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the weekly live session that is being held by attorney 𝗨𝘂𝗍𝗲 and Associates. For today's live session, I am your host Isabella, and we have a very special guest for you today. We have Ms. Helen Partlow, the supervising attorney of our firm, who is going to be imparting important knowledge for all of you and also going to be answering questions regarding NIW today. Ms. Partlow, it is great to have you here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So like you said, today we're going to talk about NIW, so I'm excited to do that and then answer some questions at the end.
All right, all of our spectators who are joining us from across all platforms, welcome. And Ms. Helen is going to start her presentation on NIW very shortly. Ms. Helen, please take over.
Thank you. You can put my slide up there when you're able to. So today I'm going to talk about some updates and trends that are going on with EB2 NIW petitions that I've seen come across our firm, whether it be on people that retain us to do their petition or people that receive an RFE, which is a request for evidence, just stating that, USCIS needs more information. So first, I'm going to start overall with the visa bulletin update. So in the visa bulletin, it goes by fiscal year. So October 1st is the first of the fiscal year. So there's always some anticipation for that month in particular, just kind of seeing how the next following year is going to be with trends and things like that. So they predict that there's going to be 165,000 green cards, which is a decrease from last year. But you see, it's not such bad news because there is a mandate of 140,000 minimum, and then any unclaimed that are from the last year on the family-based green cards rolls over to employment-based. So I'm talking today about employment-based visas, particularly the EB2 NIW, National Interest Waiver, that people petition on their own behalf because they have advanced degrees or exceptional abilities. And everything I say is pretty much tailored towards that particular angle today. So while there is a decrease from last year, it's still higher than the mandate of at least 140,000. So it's been a little bit higher just because of COVID, and it's kind of evening out now as time goes on. So like I said, October is usually an important month because it's kind of goes to show how things are going to be. So for the first time in recent history, you'll see here, this is the visa bulletin I copied out from the website, and they are using dates filed. There's two different charts, and they'll tell you which one they're using that month. So for October and for November, they're both using the dates filed chart. And you'll see here, these are the different preferences. So EB2, this is the second preference. This is the current priority date of January 1st, 2023 for a rest of world, they call it, which means anyone that's not from China, India, Mexico, or the Philippines. You'll see the Philippines is actually the same date as rest of world, but you'll notice that there is and so is Mexico, but you'll see that there is definitely a longer wait for those from India and from those from China, but especially India. So this means, once you have your approved NIW, you have to then wait for your date to become current before you can file for your adjustment of status. It's your I-485 if you are in America, or it's your DS-260 if you are living outside of America. So for the first time in the October bulletin, this was not current. So typically, because it's the beginning of the fiscal year, they make it current. And then they kind of delays kind of go after that from the rest of the year. So it's a bit unusual for there to be delays, but so basically this just means that it might end up taking a little bit longer than usual to get your visa after you have your approved one. So then we go to the November. So they typically give you the next month's visa bulletin sometime the month before. So we can already see November, and you'll notice that this is pretty much the same exact dates from the October bulletin. So they did not progress at all. And some experts I was looking at kind of predict that maybe there will be a little bit jump in the December bulletin. Maybe it will advance a couple of weeks or a month or something like that. But of course, these things are never for sure. You can predict, just like the weather, you can't really nail it down exactly as you had hoped that you could. So those are predictions that maybe it'll start moving again in December, but I guess we won't really know until they release that information. So the next thing that I've noticed a lot is a lot of clients are hoping to open up a business for their proposed endeavor. So I'm kind of switching topics now. So for the NIW petition itself, you need to have a proposed endeavor. And what is that? A proposed endeavor is what you plan to do in America that will help America fix some sort of a problem that it's having. Lots of things are happening with the environment. There's lots of national initiatives showing that the government's interested in advancing, electronic vehicles. They're interested in reducing waste, a whole bunch of things like that, improving like the supply chain. Those sorts of things help, America as a whole, if not the world as a whole. So for your proposed endeavor, it should be tailored, obviously, to whatever your background is, right? So it should be related to whatever your advanced degree is. It should be related to what experience you've been able to kind of cultivate and that sort of a thing. As to how you would come to America, or if you're already here, how you would continue to help America advance in these sorts of things. So a lot of the time, some clients come in and they think, oh, well, I can do that easily if I make my own business, right? So you're kind of thinking maybe it'll make my proposed endeavor, easier to see if that it's broadly applicable across the country. We want to show that it's at least regional. At least, we've had clients come in and do things that, are related to like the wildfires in California, which obviously is not a thing for the entire country, but it's definitely a concern in California and some surrounding states over there. So, that's what we mean about broadly applicable. So you want to make sure that it makes sense for you, that it makes sense for America, and that's what the entire foundation is of this application. So when is it a good idea to include a business plan? So I have a few ideas here. So if you have an idea for a short-term business, meaning you want to open it within 5 years, there's additional things that you're going to have to prove to USCIS along with everything else. Say your expertise is in, lithium-ion batteries for EV vehicles or something like that. You're going to have to prove how you're capable of advancing those batteries or helping implement something better about them. And you're also going to have to prove that you have business knowledge. So it's kind of makes it a lot more complicated, I guess. But, it's totally fine as long as you have these things that you can show. So if you are opening a business, or you already maybe have started and have one incorporated or filed somewhere, they want to see a business plan. They want to know, have you taken these initial steps to actually make this true, make this into reality. So they want to see a business plan. And at 𝗨𝘂𝐻𝐿, I just made a partnership with 𝗨𝘂 Consulting, and they are great because they specifically make business plans for immigrants that are applying for these type of petitions. So they have, your exact interest and your exact roadmap, so-called aligned with their goals. So, having something like that, because, at 𝗨𝘂𝐻𝐿, we're not business attorneys, we're immigration attorneys. So when it comes to creating your own business, we have our own limitations. So that's why I made this partnership, so that clients that we have that may need business plans made, because, obviously it's part of their goals, and we have this partnership that we can, refer you to. So business plans are very important. You have to show, and this is not, you don't have to show everything, but the more you show, the better, right? The more evidence we have, it shows that you are, capable of doing these things. So these are things like showing interest from a potential customer or client. Maybe there's some sort of organization or something that would be interested in furthering whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you get a letter from them, an email from them, something that we can attach showing that they are interested. So then next, you want to show your financial funding. So, do you have an investor lined up? Do you have a loan that you could potentially tap into? Are you putting through your own money and things like that? I see a question posted, but I'll answer any questions at the end. So if you don't mind just saving that question, and I'll answer it at the end. So going along with this list here. So business knowledge, showing, some clients might have multiple masters. They might have a master's in their actual field, and then they might have an MBA in something with business to show that they are capable of doing both. Sometimes they'll have some sort of a course or some sort of an extra educational thing that you can show that you've gained some knowledge as to how to run a business. It's a totally different ball game running a business versus just, being the researcher or the person that is involved in advancing whatever the thing is that you're interested in. And if you don't have any business knowledge, then at least if you can show that you are partnering with someone that does, maybe you are more of the scientific person and your partner is more of the business person, and they kind of handle more of those aspects. These are things that they're going to want to know. Did you consider all of these things? Do you know how to hire people? Do you know how to, figure out if you are going to be profitable? Those sorts of things. They want to know, do you have a location for this business? Do you have something secured? What is your plan? How many employees do you think you're going to hire? Because hiring employees is one of the great things that you can show for national importance part of the NIW by, in this petition, they like to see that you are able to create jobs for the American labor market, but they only want to do it if they're able to understand your story and understand, all of the work that maybe you're putting into getting this thing into a reality. So then the next thing is a long-term business plan. So if you have a plan of maybe, 10 plus years down the line, so we like to kind of show these things in steps or in short-term goals versus long-term goals. So if your goal is to do a business maybe 10 years down the line, your short-term goal might be to obtain a position where you further advance your knowledge and skills in whatever your niche is and whatever your industry is. And then maybe closer towards the 10-year line, that is when you would then, look to gain that business knowledge that we talked about. Maybe you would get some sort of business certificate or, try to get that business knowledge going on in your life to show that, you do want to do this in the future. But there's a lot less to prove because it's 10 plus years down the line. So, by being a little bit more vague and not having like that investor lined up or not having that location space, like that's fine because it's 10 plus years. It's just like a future goal somewhere down the line. You think that this might be helpful to, your career and for the industry itself. So it's definitely not as much to prove, not as much to talk about. and it's much more of showing an idea versus a short-term business. You have to really show proof that you're ready to go. So this was what I was talking about before. We did make a partnership with 𝗨𝘂 Consulting. If anyone is interested in talking about business plans, please email me for more information. I'll be happy to introduce you to them. So that way, having a business plan, it also shows like what your mission is and your goals and things like that. So it really is helpful if you are having a business plan as part of your NIW petition. And lastly, here's our contact information. If you go to our website, we do free NIW profile evaluations. Raju and I also do free consulting. Raju, I believe, might be fully booked up at the moment, but I think I have some availability in December. Obviously, they get booked up very quickly, but if you wanted to do a paid consultation, you can get one a lot faster. And if you did retain us, we would reduce that paid consultation rate out of your retainer fee. So you would essentially, if you retained us, it would end up being free. But yeah, so I'm happy to kind of bring this back to Miss Isabella. If you wanted to show any kind of questions that had to do with anything with NIW, whether I talked about it directly or not, I'm happy to answer it as I can.
All right, Ms. Partla, got that. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure we all learned a lot more from your slides. So we have had a couple of questions already in our comment section. First of all, 𝗟𝘁𝗍𝗀𝘃 says, good morning, happy to join the session. Thank you for joining us. And Ms. Claire Barker says, can the priority dates in the visa bulletin for NIW be expedited for those using consular processing?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. So the only thing that you can expedite is when you first send off your I-140 NIW petition, you can get premium processing, which will just give you an answer faster. So it's not going to help you bypass that wait, unfortunately. The premium processing is $2,500. Regular processing is $700. So, say you send in your application and it's received like December 1st. That's your priority date, the date that they receive it. They have 45 days to answer it if you did premium processing. Otherwise, it could take 4, 5, 6 months if you did regular processing. But no matter what, your priority date would still be December 1st. So you would still have that same ultimate wait on the visa bulletin before it becomes current. So there is nothing to really do, unfortunately, to speed up that part of the process. It depends. Sometimes it makes sense for people to do premium processing if they are, maybe an H-1B visa holder and it's coming due and they want to renew it. So if you're an H-1B visa holder and you get an approved I-140, you can just renew your H-1B visa until you were able to get the green card from your priority date. So in those reasons, in that particular circumstance, a lot of people do like to do premium processing if they're capable of, sending in that extra filing fee because it makes sense for them. But otherwise, it does not really speed the process up. Sometimes people are very stressed over it, waiting to hear the big news. Is it approved? Is it not? Just tell me, So if you're one of those people that is just going to really stress you out and you don't mind or you feel like it's worth spending that extra money, because that's a big jump in price, right? $700 to $2,500. So if you're capable of spending it and kind of resting easy that it's been addressed and you've gotten your answer, then I suggest doing it then too, so we can kind of save our mental health if we can at all throughout this crazy process. But unfortunately, there's really no way to expedite getting the green card beyond that.
I hope that answers your query, Ms. Baker. We have another question from Mr. 𝗓𝘂𝘍𝗶𝘆, and he asks, why are you taking cases with master's degree only, even though a bachelor's degree and a 5 years progressive career can make anyone eligible according to the USCIS?
So we've just found that it's a lot weaker of a case and that it's not as easy to prove. So while you might be eligible for a bachelor's degree plus 5 years progressive experience, we find it's a lot harder to prove. So our law firm in particular just takes cases with master's degrees or PhDs and things like that.
I hope that answers your query, Mr. Islam. We have another question from Ms. Emily Marshall, and she asks, do you expect the usual summer retrogression based on the recent USCIS data release? They have several thousands of pending adjustment, which doesn't include PERM EB2 that will be added to the pool.
I definitely do expect there to be some retrogression at some point. I mean, we did experience that last year in, like, I believe it was maybe late winter into spring, summer. It was definitely happening, and I don't see any reason why, retrogression isn't something to be expected again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Partlow, for that response. We have a query from 𝗨𝗽𝗱𝘆, and they ask, hi, please can you elaborate on payment structure and process timeline for NIW for Canadian professionals? Also, what happens if it's not approved?
Sure. So, our firm, we're very upfront with our payment. You can just go to our website, 𝗨𝗪law.com. We have a whole section there for fees. For us, it's a $5,000 payment for the attorneys to, create everything for your case. It's a $700 processing fee, filing fee, or if you do the premium processing, then it's $2,500, and then it's about a $50 mailing fee. So we ask for $2,500 up front for the retainer for you to start. Then after that, if you do need a payment plan, then it would be $500 a month until it is finished. So that's a bit about the payment structure. And for the timeline, a lot of it depends on the individual client, because there's so many papers involved in this. So the first phase of everything, I like to call like the document gathering phase. So that's where you work with our case managers and administrators on, giving us your diplomas and your transcripts. And if you've had any publications or awards, patents, grants, scholarships, if you've presented at any conferences and things like that. So there's lots of documents that we need from you. Apart from those documents, we also have different forms to help us. So there's a proposed endeavor form where you answer some questions and give us an idea as to what your future goals are. And then we will write that out in a statement format for you. So that's all included in the price. We also have forms and examples of letters of recommendation that we like to have done. They're not required for the petition, but we find them helpful. We suggest doing about 6, and that's on average, if it's 5 or it's 7 or something like that. We can help you write those out. We prefer the client to kind of do those as much as they can, but it is 6, and that is a lot to write. So we're happy to help write some of the letters of recommendation. The price also includes talking with an attorney once you get retained. So we would be able to help you maybe further define your proposed endeavor, make sure it aligns with what makes sense for you and for the NIW framework and everything. We're happy to answer any additional questions you may have at that time. So during that whole document gathering phase, some people know for years that this is something that they're working towards, the NIW. So they are very organized. They have things kind of ready to go. Maybe it only takes them a week to get in their information. Some other people, they're not as sure that this was a thing that was going to work for them. So, maybe they only came to the decision within the last month they're going to pursue an NIW application. So they have to kind of go into more of a frenzy, if you will, on tracking all of these items down. So at that initial phase, there's just too many things to really say how long it takes. Some clients, like I said, things proceed a lot faster. Some clients, it goes a lot slower because they don't have it ready to go. Once you're kind of done in gathering all of those documents for us, we'll write out your proposed endeavor. We'll help you with the letters of recommendation. Then once those things are in, it gets sent to a drafter, and that drafter then emails each client that they're working with saying, I'm introducing myself. I'm now your go-to person for anything, happening thus far. And then that person's going to research everything, go through the client file, make all of the arguments. These petitions are 40, 50 plus pages, right? They're very detail oriented. There's lots of different steps that we have to include, lots of different arguments, and, trying to make sure that they're all as strong as possible. So we have our own internal processing like the way that we do things. So there's multiple people looking at it, making sure that it's as strong as possible. It's not just one person. You might have one, point person that you contact, but, they're involved with, other attorneys on the team, reviewing it, making sure it's as strong as possible. That itself takes about 4 weeks. Because like I said, it's 40, 50 plus documents. There's lots of research involved. We have our own internal review system to make sure that it's as strong as possible. So that is around 4 weeks. Then after that, we send it back to the client. The client's able to review it, make sure that their, industry or their work projects are described accurately. And, they obviously get to make any comments that they feel or, want to discuss anything. Some clients are, again, they're very eager to go and they take the weekend, 2 days, and they send you back, their comments and they're, kind of ready to go. Other clients, it just depends on, everyone, life happens, I always say. And, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks for them to get back to you. So a lot of that is in your court, in your control. And then after the client has approved it, everyone on our team has approved it, then we send it back to the case managers. They get everything ready for printing. They attach any sort of money order and the I-140 form and anything else. And then they send it off to USCIS. So that process is probably like 2-3 days. And then depending if there's a holiday or over the weekend, of course, that always adds additional days. But typically, it's about 4 weeks for us to write it, but that's only once it's past that initial document gathering phase. And like I said, that really depends on the client, and it really depends on how organized and ready to go they are with all of their documents. So I hope that is a long way of answering your question, but there is, a lot of it just kind of depends, but that's typically the timeline that we use. And I hope that answered everything. I don't know if there was another one in that question itself, but.
Thank you, Ms. 𝗟𝗏𝘱, for that elaborate answer. Also, we have more resources on NIW timeline and processes on our website, so please reach out over there as well. Another one of our spectators asked, my PD is March 15, 2023. When do you think I will be current? EB2 ROW. Thank you.
Sure. So that's really hard to say because right now it's in January. And if they do proceed a few weeks in December, maybe it would be February 1st that they would get to. Obviously that would be a full month that they would in the progress of everything. But I would still say it would probably take several months before a March 15th, 2023 date would become current. Like I said, it's hard to tell. It's hard like predicting the weather, right? The weatherman always says, oh, it's not going to rain. So you leave your umbrella at home and lo and behold, you've been in an hour and they're starting to sprinkle. So it's really hard to kind of gauge what they're going to do. But my best guess would that it would still take a couple of months before they would get to that date.
I hope that answers your query. We have another question from Ms. Claire Baker, and she asks, does the premium processing improve the chances of approval of the I-140?
So no, they don't. It doesn't make any difference. So you're still, have to have a strong case. You still have to explain everything. You hear back a lot faster. So with the premium processing, they have up to 45 days, but we've seen people get approved in a couple of days, 10 days, 2 weeks, and get it back a lot faster. So it's not technically supposed to improve any chances because it's still based on merit.
Thank you so much, Ms. 𝗟𝗏𝘱, for your response. And those are all the questions we have had for today. Audience members, if you have any other general questions, please leave it for next week's live session where we will go back to discussing general topics of the immigration area. Thank you so much, Ms. 𝗟𝗏𝘱, for giving us your time here today. And thank you for answering all these questions and for your enlightening presentation. And thank you, everybody. We will see you all in the next week as well.
Do you want to pursue a career as a paralegal in America? According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, The median salary for a paralegal in America is $59,200 per year. With a growth rate of 14.1%, there were 354,300 new jobs in 2022. Join the Paralegal Bootcamp program under the direct supervision of top American attorneys and pursue your dream career as a paralegal. Not only will we educate you on the American legal system, but we will also help you find your dream job. For course fees and other information, please visit our website at www.paralegalbootcamp.us.